Hey friend, welcome to my YouTube channel. Are you looking for a blessing today? Are you looking for an answer to a prayer request? Well, the Zarephath Widow was also looking for a blessing. And we're going to take a look into her life today. This true crime Bible case is found in 1 Kings chapter 17. 1 Kings chapter 17. Now, we're not given the name of this woman, so she is a widow, and she is from Zarephath, so I'm going to call her the Zarephath Widow. And she was already going through a curveball of life. She was going through life having to raise herself, support her son, in the midst of a huge loss, the loss of her husband. Not only that, she was in a community where the food supply had been cut off. There was no food anywhere around. It's kind of like if you could imagine today that there was no food being shipped into the grocery stores. The restaurants have closed down. We can't even get any food. That's the kind of desperation that the Zarephath widow was in. And so in 1 Kings chapter 17, we're given a snippet of her life. We get to look in on her life. And we see that she did certain things, and she got blessing after blessing after blessing. She made a very unconventional decision. Now I'm going to tell you why the decision was so unconventional at the end of this Devo. But we're all faced throughout our day of making choices, right? And we get to see that she's going throughout her day. She's got her to-do list, and she's got to get some things done on her to-do list. And there's 3 tips that we can learn from her of how to find those physical blessings in life. So number 1, be open to conversing with face-to-face strangers. Be open to conversing with face-to-face strangers. We see in verses 10 and 11 that the Zarephath widow is coming across a stranger in her day, right? We come across strangers all throughout our days as we're getting our errands done, as we're getting our duties done on our job. And, how do we know when to converse with strangers? When is this a safe thing, right? I think that social media has really made us skittish, right, about conversing with strangers. Our body language could even show to a stranger that we're not open to communication. For instance, we could be on our cell phone, scrolling through social media or whatever on our cell phone, answering text messages. So she is conversing with a stranger. Now, there is a devotional I did on how to detect deception when coming across strangers. And I will put that devotional at the end of this devotional. But this is a very, very safe stranger. She is talking to him. He's talking to her. She's talking to him. And she's very open to that idea. This leads us to tip number 2. Be open to a schedule disruption. So in the first one, she's open to conversing with face-to-face strangers. She's conversing with a stranger. This person that she's never met before in verses 10 and 11. And in verse 13, what is she doing when she meets the stranger? Well, remember I told you that she was in a very desperate situation. Her son was in a very desperate situation. This stranger was in a very desperate situation because he was in this community of people where there was a famine in the land. The food supply was cut off. And so this Zarephath widow is getting supplies, getting them ready to cook the last meal for her and her son. So So she's open to a schedule disruption. The stranger asks her, will you put me on the list? You know, with a schedule disruption, we can be so in tune with getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 done, right? Everything on our to-do list. And we come across a stranger, and are we flexible in, hey, maybe not getting 2 of the things done on our to-do list and take care of a situation in our environment? You know, we can be, really like so tasked with getting things done on our to-do list. We just want to, be done with our day, relax, right? We put in a hard day's work, and then we've got this schedule disruption. And we see the Zarephath widow, she actually does add him to her list, this last meal. It's just amazing. And she's open to that. And she does that. And the third tip that she leaves us, be open to receiving a blessing. Be open to receiving a blessing. She received a lot of blessings just from being open to her environment, this stranger who initiated conversation with her, that she was flexible with her schedule, and she got so many blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings with this. What did she get? Well, she had supplies to cook that last meal. It was miraculously enough, not only for her and her son, but for the stranger. Not only that, they had this never-ending buffet at her house, day upon day upon day. They were not going hungry, where everybody out in the community was going hungry. They were being fed day after day after day. There is a day, because the stranger stays at her house, there is a day that comes that the stranger's still visiting, okay, and the son collapses. And this is a desperate situation. He is about to die. And the stranger performs CPR on the son and revives him, keeps him alive. Now, you may be like, I'm leery about bringing strangers home and all of this, and you're right. I've actually done a devotional on the Shunammite woman's safeguards to guard against squatters, right? Because, that is, you have to be leery of that, of squatters, right? And so she leaves for us very powerful tips of how, she does this. And so, with the Zarephath widow, she receives all of these blessings. And so you may be like, well, Jennifer, what's the blessings that I can receive from a stranger in my situation? Well, you may have to reflect on it. You may have to really look at what this person has actually done for you. Could this be an answer to a prayer request? You may have to consult your prayer journal. What have you been praying for lately? How have you been praying for it lately? And this blessing may be not only the answer to that prayer request, but about 2 or 3 other prayer requests that you've been praying for. It could be meeting multiple needs. It could be just as simple as someone paying you a compliment. Are you able to receive that compliment and let it be that boost of wind put back in your sails? So with the Zarephath widow, when she receives all of these blessings, Who was this person? Well, according to public opinion, this person was a very dangerous person. This person was on Israel's most wanted list. He was a fugitive in hiding. According to God, who was this person? This person was a very rare person. He was one of the few that followed Yahweh. He was a true prophet, Elijah. He was one of the spiritual advisors to one of the most evil kings in Israel's history, King Ahab. Elijah was a very safe person. He was a truth teller, and that is how he ended up on Israel's most wanted list. Ahab didn't want to hear the truth. Ahab didn't want to hear Elijah's prophecy of a famine coming to the land. He didn't want to hear it. And so he was going to do away with a person who was telling the truth. So the Zarephath widow, she makes this very unconventional decision, right? I mean, the longer I study a spiritual thinking mind, the more I see how unconventional it really is. Here is a woman who is faced with looking for answers to prayer, a solution to her everyday problem, and it's found right under her nose. That is my spiritual food for you to munch on the rest of the week. I can't wait to see you next time.